I don't know if you all are really paying attention to some of the small advancements that are coming or have happened actually, because some of those small advancements are actually like an iceberg. The depth is much deeper beneath the surface. And I'm going to explain to you specifically because I'm dealing with Gitmo and the things that go on there on how it really, really affects what's going on in Guantanamo Bay. And I'm talking about the bill that was passed that is preventing the Pentagon from funding and or donating funds, etc., to rating agencies that specifically rate news agencies. Now, these agencies, I don't know how much you know about them, but in the news business, so to speak, it is a good thing on the surface. And I actually agree with it to be very careful that people know what various different news services cover, who's behind it, and also basically, where they're coming from. It's important to know these things. But how they are going about doing it is the huge, huge problem. In fact, probably one of the most major problems of censorship right now, not only through the news, but the trickle down effect. And I'm speaking to you today from personal experience through CVine. So this is my own eyewitness observation. In our case, a news rating agency was NewsGuard. And the reason what this bill that passed is so important, just stay with me a minute while I explain a few things. And you're going to see what a huge win has just happened. And you're going to notice the trickle down effect because of it. Just a couple of months before the 2020 election, we were contacted by someplace we had never heard of before, that in this case was NewsGuard, that wanted to do a rating on CVine. And okay, it was kind of surprising. We're grassroots, practically nobody. But this is the same rating agencies that does mainstream media, New York Times and Washington Post and just CNN, all of them. I'm not going to go into the last couple of years, but just know that annually we have been rated. And they were very specific on what you could and could not publish or post or even say. And in our circumstance, since we're grassroots, we have retired police officers, we've got attorneys, we've got retired military, we have actually licensed investigators, many individuals that are donating their time, just helping with the sleuthing and the researching. We've been dealing with various different professors at universities, research projects, physicians, licensed physicians. We weren't just dealing with just the Joe Blow next door, although that very much also, it's everybody that is just working together trying to bring out the news. And there were certain circumstances that I'm limited in saying today, having to do with the lockdown and everything that happened before, that they did not want us publishing, even though I had research and physician statements and so on. The bottom line was the alphabet agencies, CDC, WHO, AMA, whichever, were the last line of say on what was true, which basically they're government agencies. But that's what they were saying, that they were the last line. So it doesn't matter what you say. It just confuses the public, so to speak. This, my words. That is the only thing that is acceptable to publish. So we went through multiple discussions about that. And they finally told us, as long as you state in your opinion, and even then we were stopped. What the problem is these rating agencies, once they give you a rating, whatever that may be, there is a trickle down effect. They take that rating and they send it out to all big tech, Google, all social media, Facebook, YouTube, everybody. And they also send it out to payment gateways, to banks. It's a very wide open thing that they send out. And for the most part, it's kind of like you've been docked in social credit. That's the way that I'm explaining it. That if you don't rate the way that you are supposed to, life becomes very difficult. And so how that trickles down is anybody who does business with you, whether they are, vendors or whatever that case is, and they see that, they start coming after them and making their life difficult. It's a very huge web of just this one little rating from these rating agencies. And that, for the most part, is why we wound up being deplatformed multiple times. There are other places, I'm not going to go through the list, but very large entities that are right now in a lawsuit against these rating agencies because of this very reason, because they destroy your business, they destroy lives, and they're in the process of going through this right now. We didn't have the funds to be able to join it, but we've been watching it. But this is happening in a big way. Now, through some of the new Twitter things that are coming out, a very disconcerting piece of news came out. And I found this out a couple of months ago, that the Pentagon, through the tune of just under $750,000, $750,000, was funding NewsGuard. And we're here covering GTMO and the trials that are going on there. We're using transcripts from them and, also just witnessing the feed from them and not officially reporting on it, but just coming on social media and explaining what we see and what we've learned, along with a huge amount of research, multiple eyes. And yet we were still going through this. So it definitely, that's just a little bit of our circumstances. The reason I'm bringing this up to you is how it specifically has to do with GTMO. Remember what I said about things that happened in the past? This last year, we decided, instead of dealing with any of the other peripheral news on our website, we were just going to focus completely on GTMO, the KSM et al. 9/11 trials and the other trials that are going on there, and just start explaining and teaching and educating, because for the most part, we're an educational site, along with just being community voices, investigations, news, and education. That's what CBIND stands for. So when we told them this is what we were doing, we're changing our focus and it's going to be that and only that, they were surprised and like, why are you doing that? It's like, why not? That's what we do. And it's easier to be able just to focus what's going on. So we developed at that time something called the 9/11 Court of Public Opinion, which is a roundtable and a discussion which has to do with discussions between architects and engineers, again, licensed. Professor Leroy Halsey, who held the forensic analysis at University of Alaska Fairbanks and has over 3,700 peer-reviewed individuals, architects and engineers, that went over exactly what the huge 4-year study was about Building 7 collapsing and how much the correlation is between the Twin Towers and so on. So I'm not here to talk about that. But my point is, we were going to have roundtables, and we still do have roundtables. I deal with a number of these individuals all the time. Well, you can't do that because it doesn't. This is what they said, NewsGuard. You can't do that because what the forensic analysis, whatever it is, does not follow the NIST report, National Institute of Statistics and Technology. They are the last line statement of what's real. It was then I had an epiphany. It's like, oh, really? Well, can you please explain to me, since we're talking about GTMO, why there are very specific regulations in one of your alphabet agencies, specifically through the Office of Military Commissions, that very clearly states that American citizens cannot be held, tried, let alone prosecuted or executed in Guantanamo Bay, in GTMO. You go out and you do all this research, or you do all these ratings with all these other different types of news agencies, but yet this blatant misinformation has gone viral. It has misled millions of people by this misinformation, and there's not a peep out of you guys. Not one single peep. Let me read to you exactly what regulation I'm talking about. It's one of these alphabet agencies that let me know about this regulation. So there's a whole lot of people that are getting fed up about a number of things that are coming out. But anyway, don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. I think that's a saying. It isn't throughout. It's infiltrated in pockets. So this is why we're, trying to clean things out. But anyway, I digress. Let me read to you the regulation, and I am going to go ahead and post it on the website in one of the articles that I'm doing, that you can read it. I've already posted it a number of times, but you may want to take notes with this. Who can be tried at GTMO, and it comes from the MMC 219 edition. From Rule 202A, in general, any alien, unprivileged, enemy belligerent is subject to trial by military commission under Chapter 47A of Title 10 United States Code. Definition under Rule 103A1. Alien means an individual who is not a citizen of the United States. Definition under Rule 103A29. Unprivileged enemy belligerent means an individual other than a privileged belligerent who A, has engaged in hostilities against the U.S. or its coalition partners, or B, has purposefully and materially supported hostilities against the U.S. or its coalition partners, or C, was part of Al-Qaeda at the time of the alleged offense under Chapter 47A of Title 10 United States Code. Okay, there's a lot more to this, and I know there's a lot of you that have questions about this, and I'm going to be taking the time to go over this in depth and detail on other peripheral things that it can mean, and also that is actually good news. But for the purpose of today, that is what I brought up to NewsGuard. Excuse me, I keep knocking my desk. That is what I brought up to NewsGuard. And I said, okay, there you go. There's your alphabet agency, the Office of Military Commissions. That's their regulations. They are the ones that are doing things at GTMO. How come you guys have never once done anything about that? That's kind of huge. Massive misinformation. So either you guys are negligent as hell, biased as hell, because you want your own narrative to come out, or this was purposeful. So, what are you guys going to do to fix this? If you have any questions, if you need to be educated about what the regulations are, I gave them a number of names and phone numbers at the Office of Military Commissions so they could do a little fact checking. Tell me I'm wrong. Show me. I have never heard a peep from them since. Not one single word, nor response or anything else. They just poof off the face of the earth. Never contacted me again, except now I am in a situation of all our funding, all everything, even people going to the website, all this shenanigans is happening. It's like, oh, whatever. People are seeing it. But okay, that being said, let's talk about why this bill coming out preventing the Pentagon and some other, situations from funding these rating agencies and why it matters. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. All right, here's the report that I put out. It's on our website, c-vine.com, c-vine.com. I'm not going to put any links anywhere on YouTube or any of the social media because for some reason, about an hour or so after they're placed, they become corrupted. So you're just going to have to, I guess, hear me here. You can try and get on the website, maybe typing it in by hand. But that also, people have tried to donate. By the way, the reason I'm showing this is because our travel donations of where we want to go to Fort Meade in August, you click on it and it doesn't let you donate. And we've had a bunch of people looking at it. So, anyway, I am going to post at the top and or in the description bar. If you want to support us, if you can, just send a check to our office address in Temecula, California. And I'm very thankful for those of you, a number of you have done that because everything digitally has come to a screeching halt. So if you're willing to send a check, that's helpful. But anyway, I digress. Here, one of the reports that came out, and I'm going to go ahead and read that to you. And this is one we put out yesterday. So anyway, I am not going to, let me see. Since we don't have any volunteers at present in the Fort Meade viewing room taking notes on live TV transmissions from GTMO, we are providing eyewitness reports. This is the wrong one. Just a minute. Sorry. Okay, this is what I wanted. By the way, you can go there and look at what happened this last week. That was it. All right. So the House of Representatives passes a bill banning Pentagon from funding rating agencies of news organization. CISA News was relieved and frankly elated that the House of Representatives actually stood up and passed a bill preventing the Pentagon from funding rating agencies such as NewsGuard. It's a beginning and will probably set a new precedent. But we shall see. In the meantime, we are providing the following report released yesterday by the Daily Calling that you can read here. And there's a link there that'll take you there directly. CISA has provided an opinion statement from our eyewitness investigation report at the end of this article, written by the Daily Caller. All right, House Committee passes rule banning Pentagon from funding censorship organizations, written by looks like Michaela Burrowen, investigative reporter. The House included a rule banning the Pentagon from contracting with organizations seeking to rate or police news sites, including groups accused of unfairly targeting conservatives in the annual defense bill passed at committee level early Thursday morning. The rule singles out the Global Disinformation Index, the GDI, Graphica, NewsGuard, and related organizations that target perceived online disinformation and rate news sources based on accuracy and transparency. United Kingdom-based GDI worked for the State Department while pushing to demonetize and deplatform conservative websites on various tech and social media platforms, raising concerns among activists and lawmakers that many so-called fact-checking organizations may be biased in their judgments against right-leaning content. Duh. Proud to pass my amendment that prohibits the Department of Defense from contracting with any of a number of misinformation or disinformation monitors that rate news and information sources. Republican Rich McCormick of Georgia, who sponsored the amendment, said in a statement, "Thank you, Rich. I personally am very grateful for what you have done and for having the courage to stand up." He states, while these media monitors claim to be nonpartisan, the reality is they are not. And then it says related exclusive GHS channel courted left-wing agents to aid in misinformation crackdown. Okay, that's a link there that you can also read. The amendment adopted as part of the House Armed Services Committee in 2024 National Defense Authorization Act passed early Thursday morning blocks Pentagon funds from going to the Global Disinformation Index, Graphica, NewsGuard, or any other entity, the function of which is to advise the censorship or blacklisting of news sources based on subjective criteria or political biases under the stated function of fact-checking or otherwise removing misinformation from the internet. Advertising and marketing agencies, the Department of Defense, DoD, employs to reach new recruits would have to certify that they do not use any services from organizations according to the text of the amendment. Then here's a Twitter thing from Mark Alford. We must prevent taxpayer dollars from going to contracts with entities that advise the censorship of news sources based on political bias under the guise of fact. Agreed. DoD offered NewsGuard Technologies a contract in 2021 worth $749,387 for services relating to misinformation fingerprints, records show. U.S. Cyber Command and the State Department jointly ran a program for detecting COVID-19 misinformation and disinformation using NewsGuard's misinformation fingerprints tool, which leveraged artificial intelligence to track prominent misinformation narratives online and offer solutions to hoaxes related to COVID-19 pandemic, according to a news release. NewsGuard has provided the Department of Defense with alerts and analysis about new false narratives being spread by hostile foreign governments, including China, Russia, and Iran, targeting Americans and our allies with false claims, a spokesperson for the company told the DCNF. The spokesperson cited an example where NewsGuard identified a Beijing-backed website disseminating a false claim about a U.S. scheme to develop bioweapons and deploy them to China. We operate in an objective manner, including how we identify provably false claims and how we rate news sources by using fully transparent and apolitical criteria, the spokesperson added. The Institution for Strategic Dialogue, ISD, also received $80,000 in 2023 for prevention, although specifics of the program were not immediately available, records show. ISD is a UK-based nonprofit organization that partners with social media platforms to identify and combat what it calls online hate extremism, and disinformation. However, it frequently labels mainstream conservative speech as hate or disinformation, evaluating content against narrowly defined liberal perspectives on issues like abortion, climate change, transgenderism, and critical race theory, the Daily Caller News Foundation previously found. ISD has an active contract with the State Department to advance the development of promising and innovative technologies against disinformation and propaganda. Whitman's amendment blocks additional contracts in that vein. The DCNF did not identify any current or inactive DoD contracts with GDA or Graphica, a company that monitors disinformation campaigns on social media and exposed a U.S. Central Command operation promoting pro-U.S. content on Twitter and Facebook. ISD, NewsGuard, GDI, and Graphica did not immediately respond to the DCNF's request for comment. End Daily Caller report. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here. Now, I probably will not be placing this on YouTube because there's a number of words that were spoken that just kind of sets off all their little alarms. There are other places that I am going to place this. I'm going to probably put it on Rumble, but understand our channel on Rumble is not very large. We had to start from scratch, and so we have a little over 1,000 followers, whereas YouTube, we have quite a few. So I'm going to be placing this on Rumble. It would be helpful if you shared this and let people know what is going on. And from there, I'm going to be sharing it on social media. This is good news, folks. Not that it happened with what was going on with NewsGuard, the fact that they're starting to clamp down on it. This took a lot of courage. People are starting to step forward. There are a number of things that I'm going to be going over that also are happening, that things are moving forward. Another one, what happened just a couple of weeks ago with the Conestrero report. That's huge, you guys. That is seriously huge. Things are coming out, not only about GTMO, but a number of things. And it's starting to expose who exactly is behind it. So hang in there. Just know things are moving forward. And we are working with you guys, doing our best to help bring what we know and have carefully taken the time to research to be factual. Okay, stay tuned for our report tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.